What's going on, guys? So inside of the barn, we have a sink. It's a very basic plastic sink. I picked it up from Lowe's. It was super inexpensive, mainly so we could get some water inside of here. And that was really the main purpose. So we have the ability to wash our hands, wash things off. It goes to the septic system, and again, very basic. It came with this faucet up top, which is really nice. It's very functional. It's got, it's got a spray feature. You can turn on regular or spray it. But you may be wondering why I have this braided stainless steel line coming through a hole that I made right there. Well, the reason why is because this faucet is designed for hot and cold water, and all we have going into it is cold water, and it's fed through a PEX line, which is then brought down to a valve, which then goes straight to the back of it. So if I turn the water to hot, check it out, water starts coming out through here. Only because I really didn't need to cap it off. Like I said, it was a basic design, run it in here so I can have water going through here. But we don't have hot water out here until today. Let me show you what we're going to be installing, and perhaps it'll give us a little bit of hot water whenever we need to, wash something that's a little bit more stuck on, or we just want hot water to wash our hands with. So in front of you, you were looking at a Thermomate tank water heater. Now, I know a lot of folks are going to be like, why didn't you put a tankless water heater in here? Honestly, because I don't think I needed it. For the amount of hot water we would ever use out of the sink, I think this is going to work really, really well. It has absolutely fantastic reviews, and it's just one of those products that's low cost, easy to install, easy to maintain, and it's just going to give us the amount of hot water we need out here for any application we have. And it's going to be so close to the actual faucet that I don't think we're going to have really any delay in terms of getting hot water. But we'll find out. Anyways, the specs on this thing, it's a 1.32 gallon tank water heater, which means it stores 1.32 gallons of water in it that it keeps hot for you. You have a temperature dial down here as well, so you can start off at a minimum heat, and then you can raise this thing all the way up, and it lets you know when it gets to 125 degrees Fahrenheit, which is well beyond how hot I need it, and that's actually pretty much scorching, so I don't really want to keep it at 125 degrees. We'll probably keep it somewhere in between. It draws 1,440 watts of power, and the cool thing about this is it has a 110 cord on the back of it, so I don't have to wire this into 240 volt. I don't have to do any special wiring at all. It simply has a power cord that can plug in like any other appliance, and I can provide power to this thing so I can have hot water without having to do a bunch of electrical work, which is really, really cool. The water connections on top are 1/2-inch NPT connections. The maximum water pressure you can feed into this is 100 psi. So the way this works is you see the red and the blue caps up top. These are your connections. It's a very, very simple install. Basically, I'm going to feed cold water in right here at the top. It'll heat it up inside of here, and then it feeds hot water out right here. That's all it is. You have your power connection over here to plug it into a wall. So it's a few steps, even though you may need some plumbing fittings. Now, right here in the center, this cap pops off, and you would thread in this. What is this? This is a pressure relief valve. So essentially, if the pressure inside of this tank starts growing and growing and growing to a point that it's dangerous, this will bleed pressure off, and you're supposed to run this through PVC down to a drain pan that can drain outside of the building, which we can also do here as well. But yeah, they include this, and they already put some thread lock tape on there as well, so all you would simply do is thread this in right here and then plumb it into a pan and a means for it to drain out if for some reason you have a pressure issue, pressure builds up, and it needs to escape the system. But very, very cool system, and it's one that I think most people could probably tackle themselves if they had some type of like visual aid assistance. For instance, they watched YouTube videos on perhaps how to install something like this. But we're going to get this installed, we're going to test it out and see how it works for us. Now, I have a couple different options of putting the tank either on a wall or putting it on the ground, and I don't really care to mount it. It comes with mounting hardware. Very, very simple. You simply secure it. It even has a couple anchors if you need to fasten it to a wall. But, if you're putting it in wood, you're not going to need these anchors. You could just simply use the lag bolts that are already included with it. But I think what we're going to do is actually just set it on a drain pan right here behind the sink, because I have about probably close to 14 inches of space behind the sink, and I can easily fit a small drain pan back there. The footprint of the water heater isn't very large, so I could set it back there as well, and then I can simply run it up to power. I have several power sources in the vicinity where I could easily run that. Now, before I run to the store to pick up extra components that I'll need, I'm going to go ahead and use the plumbing components I have to try to get the pressure valve installed. So this is going to be a 3/4 inch female NPT. I'm going to simply use an adapter I have right here. And this is all stuff that I already have in my toolbox. Now I am not a plumber, so I'm just doing this the best way I can. And again, this is just a relief valve, so this isn't going to be, you know, something that's actually feeding water to another area. I'm going to put that in here. This piece threads on, and then it's a slip connection over here. I'm going to thread that on right here. Okay, so we are nice and tight. I did not use any type of plumbing tape right here, again, because this is simply a relief valve and it's going to be spraying out, so not that big of a deal. There's not going to be any pressure that's trapped inside of this connection right here. Now I do have an elbow, so this will now attach to the top of the water heater. Okay, so this is going to go inside of the pressure relief area of the water heater, and then it will simply thread in. It already has thread tape on it. Okay, so it's going to come out this side. Now I'm just going to cut my 3/4 inch PVC. Okay, so we have the pressure relief valve installed. We have it all plumbed in place. Again, this is not high pressure right here. I know that if the pressure comes out of here, it's going to shoot down, but I probably didn't even need to use any type of glue here. I probably could have just kind of pressed everything into place. But assuming the pressure comes out of here really fast, just to keep that from coming off, you know, it just made sense to go ahead and do it while I had it. And it will just come straight out the bottom here into the drain pan whenever we pick up the drain pan. Okay, so we're back, and I've attached a couple fittings here. So we have an MPT female connection to a SharkBite PEX connection right here. So we're going to have PEX going in 1/2 inch to 1/2 inch, and then we have a 1/2 inch MPT female fitting right here that is going to be our valve to our faucet. So I'll be able to turn it on or off at the actual water heater, which is really nice. And then this right here will come off, and we'll simply thread on the connection that's already there for hot water. So let's get this positioned, let's get it in place, and let's get the rest of our connections made. Okay, so the main water line from PEX runs above here. I have a piece of PEX that comes down, and it simply connects to this faucet connection right here with a 3/8 inch connection. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half. I'm going to insert a T right here. So this will go right here. And then another piece of PEX will come off and plug directly into the top of the water heater right here through this piece of SharkBite. So this is a really simple install. It's not as complex as some folks might make their install, but I think it's going to work perfectly for what we're trying to accomplish here. And we'll be able to get hot water out here pretty soon. So let's go ahead and make our cuts here. I'm going to cut this in half and put my T valve in. Okay, so I have my T connector in place right here. Now I'm just going to take an extra piece of PEX, run it down the side, and plug it into the top of the water heater. Okay, so we are completely connected other than power. We have our splitter in place right here. We have it teed off. It's plugged right in to the top of that SharkBite connector, which goes directly into the 1/2 inch MPT male connector right there. Right here we have our valve that goes out to the faucet, and we should be good to go. So we're going to go ahead and get it plugged in, turn it on, and see how it works. Let's turn the water back on. Okay, so all of our connections are made, pressure tested, don't have any leaks, everything is looking really good. I just turned on the water heater, the light is on right there, basically rotated that knob clockwise, and it should start heating up. I put it about halfway right now, just so I could get a feel for it and test it. I'm not exactly sure how long it actually takes this to start heating the water up before you can actually feel it, but I'm gonna let it sit here for about 5 minutes. I'm gonna see if that's long enough for it to heat some water up. And the only thing I forgot to pick up was a drain pan. So I gotta grab a drain pan. I probably actually have something I could use for a drain pan. Shoot, you could probably put a large cookie sheet down here because the footprint of this thing is relatively small. It's only about 8 inches by about 8 inches. So not a very big footprint, pretty easy to fit into something like that. I think it's going to work out really well here for what we would need it for. We don't take showers out here. This is basically just for washing our hands, and it's nice to have warm water occasionally. It also helps coffee boil a little quicker too when you can heat the water up. So we're going to let it heat up for a little while. We're going to see what it's all about. Okay, so about 5 minutes has gone by. Everything looks really good down there. Let's go ahead and turn the water on. I still have it only about halfway up because, again, I don't need it super, super hot. I got my little temperature meter here. I'm going to start it on cold water. Okay, so the water's about dropping down a little bit. I think that's a pretty good baseline though. Let's go and turn it on hot water. Wow. There we go. 86, 98, 104. Wow, so far it's working. It's heating the water up, and that's only after 5 minutes of usage. Just keep in mind it only holds a little more than 1.5 gallons of water, so once you burn through that, it's going to have to reheat the water. So I think for what we're trying to do, this should work really well, hopefully. So we'll give you a follow-up review if we have any problems with it at all. But what do you guys think? Pretty cool, huh? Right? One of these nifty little inventions that can help you out if you need hot water to an area of your home or a small area that's not going to use a lot of it and you want to be able to plug it into a wall outlet as opposed to having to wire it in. But that's very cool. And it can sit right there on the floor. If you see water right here, it's because when I first hooked that up, I didn't put enough of the tape on and I was getting a little drip from the side there. So once I disconnected it, water came out the bottom. And that's why you see a little bit of water collecting on the floor. But I have it resealed, put some tape back on it, and looks like we're in good shape. Anyways, guys, I'll throw a link in the description of this video if this is something you may be interested in. Let me know what you think. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up. We'll talk to you again real soon.